Hi, I'm Corey. Welcome to episode 29 of Flips, Flaps, and Folds. Today's project is brought to us by Mum, or the Mother Lode. And actually, that is Carrie Fellows from Witchcraft Do You Do, her mom. And it was a video a few months back, and I will link it in the description box below. But she took an envelope and then made this fold-down little flip book with it. And it encouraged and inspired me. I've had this done for several months to do something similar, but with scraps, because that's kind of how I think in terms of scraps. And the difference is this one, it's one of those that I told you you could either put in your book or you could send separately to a craft friend or as a gift card kind of a thing. Here I've glued it into my album, but it's just a lift up, fold down, but it's got a little bit of a pocket. And so what she had done is she cut down on the sides to make this little tuck spot. And then you've got places on the bottom for tags and such. She put a little notepad in it. I believe she put a notepad in it. I haven't watched her video in a while. Just a little notepad of scrap papers, and then had a couple pockets for some tags. And it's just a little bit different. It's not exactly the same as many of the others. And so when she had originally created the video, she did it something like this. I believe it was sideways. You know, she cut down on the two sides and folded over the top of the envelope. And then you flip it back or open it up. And then there was a pocket on one side. And then the pocket that the bottom of the envelope creates is a tuck spot with, you know, a whole bunch of things that you can tuck in there. And then the little flip up notepad. So I made a couple like that and was playing around with it. And I believe she did hers vertically like this. And again, smaller, just scraps, you know, tuck a little bit of tag in there. And again, utilizing the bottom of this as a tuck spot, making different pockets and tucking tickets and such in. So I'd made a couple, you know, this goes way back. And then I thought, well, why can't I turn it this way? Because the album I was making at the time had that type of alignment. And so I made this one using scraps of paper again. Same exact idea, but rather than vertical, it was horizontal with the tuck spot at the bottom. And she also used, I think, this type of a closure where, you know, obviously I didn't set that straight, but you have the double eyelets, and here it's the same idea with the circles, and then the flip around like this. And oops, I didn't close that up there. There you go, like this, that type of a closure, double different sides, and I play with it. And then the tops also. This one is just kind of a slight angle. This one is straight. And then this one is rounded. So you have options even in how you choose to create this, you know, the direction that you want it to go, and the finishing touches that you want to add. Again, this was tucked, just a little tuck inside there. So I am going to show you, it's super, super simple. I'm not going to show you how to do it with an envelope, because I will, like I said, link Carrie's mom's video and show you how you can, or she can show you how she did it. I'm just going to show you how I altered it or changed it to suit my using scrap bits. And again, I pieced together two scraps of paper to make this. And I'm going to do the same type of a thing where I use this arrangement, but keep in mind that you can also turn it sideways. And then I just put a, you know, a tag card behind it, or a journaling card, a big journaling card behind this as when I glued it in. So I kind of made it this pocket into a belly band. Okay. I have been trying to use up some of these 16 square Tim Holtz memorandum thing sheets, and so my project uses a few of these, and I've got some more ideas with that, and I'll show you in a later video, or that type of thing. All right, so what I did is I took some scraps, and another beauty of this project is it can be made with any size scraps. And I didn't have two in the same pattern paper, so I just used one piece of cardstock and one scrap pattern double-sided paper that I had, and I just cut them to the same width. And the way I did this is, the way I do it, again, it's a little bit different than Carrie's mom. I look at it and eyeball it and see, okay, my papers are the right width now, and how much space do I have? And so I'm going to come into the bottom. There's two pieces, back piece, top piece, right? And you want your back piece longer than your top piece by roughly 1.5 to 2 inches, roughly. It doesn't have to be exact. You can have a longer flap if you want, or you can have a deeper bottom pocket if you want. Completely up to you, but roughly 1.5 to 2 inches longer than back piece, longer than the front piece, whichever papers you use. So I am going to come in at 3/8 and make my score line at 3/8, just because that's the amount I generally like. I score it and I move it up. All right. Then I'm going to take the top piece and I'm going to glue it just to the area that I scored. So it'll be free motion, right? So I'm going to come in, move this over, come in and glue that. And then I'm going to, I want this is the back, this is going to be the front, so I want my pattern to be, the direction to be correct. And I'm going to come in and lay this down, tap it to the bottom, and then fold this piece up. And that just kind of guarantees, one, that I'm doing it mostly straight, and two, that it's touching the bottom of there. I want this piece of paper to touch the bottom of that score, that folded score area, like that. And then once it's in place here, I'm going to come in and score the top for this fold over section. And I like to leave just, I don't know, maybe even 1/8 of an inch or so between my top piece of paper and where it folds. It just keeps it from impeding the fold, and it doesn't affect or alter the look of it at all. It just makes sure that the fold is easy. So I'm going to use this as my guideline, and I'm going to make my score line just above where my paper ends. And maybe scoot it in a little bit. Sorry about that. And you can see I made my score line just above where that piece of paper ends. So I scored and bring it in here and fold that down. Okay, this is pretty much it. There's just a couple more pieces. Now, obviously this is just a simple fold. The difference is when she did it with the envelope, she only cut down to a certain point so that she had that flip in that pocket. And that's what I want to do here. I'm going to scoot back out just a little. There we go. And so in order to do that, I want, to put the little pocket on the bottom. So I'm going to do this first, and then I'm going to glue it up to where I want it. Because I want, like in this one, you can see these two little pockets. Here is where it's folded or glued to make this crease or this flip down, to make this little pocket at the bottom. And I wanted to have two little side tuck spots for that. So I put my pocket pieces in first because that was going to determine where I scored it for the top fold down. All right. So I have this section, the top and the bottom have been glued together now. But before I decide how far up I want this to be glued so that I've got my pocket, I want to put my pocket on here to make sure that I have room for clearance. Now on this one, you can see I used two. On these sideways ones or vertical ones, I used just one, and I made it fit that way. But you just want to make sure that you've got clearance. So before you decide where you're going to glue the front to the back for your sides, you just want to make sure that your pocket is going to fit. And I'm going to put a side tuck type pocket on this one just because I had one of those square pieces I was talking about and I want to use it. So I'm going to put glue on the top and bottom so that I can make a side tuck. Not top and bottom, I was wrong. On the right side and left side so I can make a side tuck. And because of the orientation of the paper, I'm just going to put it in this corner. It doesn't matter which corner you choose. You can make a full pocket if you want to. You can make a partial pocket. You can make a couple pockets or stacked pockets. Your options are endless. It's just, I wanted to put a little bit of a pocket on there. Okay, and now I have a guideline. I want to make sure that wherever my fold is, I at least have that much room. So I think on this particular one, I'm going to do 2 inches because that'll give me a little bit of a clearance at the top to tuck something in, and it'll be able to move freely. So I'm going to come in and use my grid or my score marks on my paper here. So that's going to give it to me there, yeah. And I'm going to put glue on just about 1.5 to 2 inches of this top and bottom because I want to glue those two sections together to make that little pocket. Okay, it looks like I went to about 1 3/4 inches. So we're going to go with 1 3/4 inches on this one. And I'll do the same on both sides. All right, and then I'm just going to glue this down. And I am going to grab some clamps to put these here, just to give them a second or two to dry. And while this is drying, okay, so I'm going to just put the clamps there, give it a second or two to dry. While it's drying, I would make my little scrap paper flip pads. Now, I love making these. They're a great way to use scrap paper, and they're handy, and they're just fun. So I would make my scrap paper while that's drying. I'll make this, and voila, magic, here it is. I just took a bunch of scrap pieces and I put them together in about the right size. I knew this was about 4 3/4 wide and just a little over 3.5 inches, something like that long. I grabbed scraps that match that, and I literally just sewed it across the top. Now you can put a piece of double-sided tape here and put it into your book. You can glue it in. If this was going to be something you'd reuse, here, we can take these off now. If this was going to be one that you wanted to reuse, you could put, oh, here, I'll show you. I'm going to fold this down. You can score it, but I'm just going to eyeball it because why not? And then I'm going to fold this down to make that pocket. And the goal is to make it straight, but I don't always. All right, see? So this is going to be where my pocket flips down, and that's going to be my back tuck spot, my back tuck pocket for the piece that's going to go in here. Okay, so I can still put something in this pocket, and I'm going to have this back pocket, but right up here at the top is going to be my scrap pad. Oh, and you know what? Darn it, you can see I kind of guesstimated, and I've got a little bit of a gap here. I can come in easily and grab some more scraps, some longer scraps, and then just taper glue those down to fill in that blank spot. And if you make it too long, that's okay too. You can either cut it off at the top or just tear off at the bottom. So, yeah, you can, I'm just gonna leave it the way it is. You can easily alter it as needed. I generally use double-sided tape. Oh, this one's too thick. But you can glue it also. Or like I said, oh, I know what I was gonna show you. See, I got sidetracked. Take a scrap of that same paper and, okay, so I've got a scrap of the same paper, and then I'm gonna fold in on one side, okay? And then I want to fold in on the other side, the same distance. Let me see if that scooting in will make it better. I'm going to fold it in the same distance on this side. And I want it to be about flush, there you go, about flush with the edges of the paper. And then, this is optional. Remember, this is not something you have to do. This is something you can choose to do if you want to make this a reusable piece. So that you can, you know, once the scrap paper is done, you can put in another scrap paper pad. All right, so I glued both of those down. And it's essentially making a belly band for your scrap paper. And then on whatever my back piece is, I would just come in, and of course this one's gonna be a little wide, but it's gonna work. Maybe it's gonna work. Okay, I'm going to pull this down, and that's the beauty of making it scrap paper pad. Pull it down like that. See, I still have clearance on the top to fold it down, and now I can replace this. Once this scrap paper pad is used up, I could put another, and I'm out of frame. Sorry about that. So I just made that belly band in the back, and I tucked this down behind it. So once I've used all this paper, I could take this out and put another one in if I choose to. And let's come in a little bit more. All right, so I've got my scrap paper pad. I've got my little tuck spot on the bottom here for a journaling card or a tag or something like so. And then I've got my pocket back here. And then my last step is to make a closure. Now, if you're choosing to make this type of a closure, you do that before you glue on your pocket. All right. So if you're wanting to make this type of a closure where you take a piece of string and you wrap it, or you use brads or eyelets or whatever, you want to make sure you put this piece on before you put your pocket in place. And I should have said that sooner, so I apologize if you're crafting along with me. Just if you want this type of closure. Now for this one, I wanted because of how I've got this set up, I'm just going to put a piece of Velcro here and here to close this up. And then I can decorate the front or not, whichever I decide. But that is it. That is your scrap pocket. If this is going to be a freestanding, just a gift for somebody, you can choose to put another pocket on the back and decorate the back. Or you can, if you're going to include it inside your journal, what I did is I just put glue on the top and the bottom, and then I made it into a belly band. So I was able to tuck that into my book. So you can see here, I turned mine into a belly band. And again, you can use the configuration that works best for your journal. It would work just as fine like this. Obviously not the way I've glued it, but you could certainly do the same type of a thing. I put my paper pad up at the top, and I turn my pocket sideways this way, and I've got this side tuck pocket, or I can do it this way. So your choice. All right, I had a couple questions that I wanted to answer. That's the video. That's the pocket. A couple questions I wanted to answer, and I'll go in and alter this and put the video from Which Craft Do You Do? Oh, Carrie mentioned the other day I had ordered some more things from her. No, that's Darkroom Door. Wrong one. Carrie had mentioned that her... for crying in the beer, what did I do with it? 13 art stamps. Numbers. All right, somewhere in here, I have Carrie's Which Craft Do You Do stamps. Aha, there we go. And there you go. Sorry about that. Carrie's Which Craft Do You Do? These really, really cool stamps. And I'll put the link to her shop below. But they're back in stock. That was what all that hunting and pecking was about. These are back in stock. So if you're interested in these, or if you were wanting these, she has them available again. Oh, somebody asked about... might even be on the cover of this. Somebody asked about this fabric. It's not really fabric, it's paper. This paper here. And it was one of those things that Amazon recommended. So based on my purchasing and shopping history, or purchasing and browsing history, I guess, it recommended this. And it is Perforated Paper by Mill Hill. Sorry, I have an overhead light that's probably glaring like crazy. Perforated Paper by Mill Hill. And it comes in a package of 9x12, and you get 2 sheets. And it is absurdly spendy. I want to say it's like $10 for 2 sheets. So it's roughly $5 a paper. But the beauty is, where do I have my scrap? I don't even know. You can, oh, here we go. You can use just little bits of this. It tears beautifully. Before I showed it to you, I wanted to show you it. If you're a cross-stitch person, it cross-stitches really easily, actually easier than the ADA cloth does, I think. And it takes ink perfectly. And I just use little bits to add some texture and dimension. It's really flat. It's kind of like a heavyweight cardstock size-wise, but it's got flexibility and movement, and I'm really liking this stuff. So if this is what you were asking about or interested in, it was Amazon. It's Mill Hill Perforated Paper, and I believe it comes in a variety of colors. I ordered the off-white based on its recommendation, but I think I ordered black too, and that's coming in soon. But they have a bunch of colors. So there is that. Hopefully tomorrow, episode 30 of Flips, Flaps, and Folds, and then I will put this away for a bit. And I'll come back eventually and do some more tabs, tags, and tucks. But then we will move on to my next 2 idea book projects. Not idea book, theme book projects. And those are coming soon. So thank you for watching. Have a great day and happy creating.